Welcome back, everyone. The recent brutal attack on Salman Rushdie is yet another reminder that many adherents of a certain religion cannot take criticism and often respond violently to it. Thousands and thousands of times, Muslims have shown the world that criticism of their prophet and/or Quran must be silenced. In response, on this channel, we make sure that the opposite happens. So following up from our Salman Rushdie and the Satanic Verses video, I wanted to know what you all had to say in the comments section. So here we go. The Iranian regime say the Holocaust was a hoax, have come out with the most despicable anti-Semitic comments and cartoons, and have funded world terror, including the killing of the Lebanese Prime Minister Hariri. They then talk about Rushdie's disrespect for Islam. I'll agree, it does seem a bit hypocritical. This is truly funny. Compare Balaam in the book of Numbers, who couldn't speak a false prophecy or curse against Israel, even when he was paid to. Yes, I do intend to talk more about that. Another big problem with this account for the Muslim, it would seem to accomplish the challenge of Surah 10, wherein we are told that only Allah can write something like the Quran, and the reader is challenged to write a single surah like it. He then makes the point that it seems that Satan has met this challenge. Keep in mind that in the next surah, Surah 11, Allah challenges the critics to produce 10 surahs like it. Perhaps he just wasn't feeling as confident that day. After I left Islam and started talking with my Muslim family and friends about deficiencies in Islam, I was astounded by how little they know about these less flattering details. It's as if someone deliberately stashed away those details from the average Muslim to ensure he or she won't question anything. That sounds like a conspiracy theory. When I was younger and used to go to mosques, I asked the imam how a prophet of God can be influenced to recite verses from Satan and not even notice it's not from God till some time later. Puzzling, but no good answer. So, how does Satan bring the same revelation as Gabriel, but Muhammad doesn't notice it? And where was Gabriel? That's actually an interesting question, because in some of these reports, it's Satan who appears like the angel Gabriel and then gives Muhammad the satanic verses. And then the real Gabriel checks in on Muhammad later and finds out what happens. So where was Gabriel? I don't know, maybe he was out to lunch or something. You believe that story to be true because it fits your narrative. So actually the story is problematic even if it's false. The fact that it is preserved in Muslim sources causes lots and lots of problems. Muslims don't seem to realize this, so I'm going to help them out in a later video. The story was false. Well, not according to your early scholars. Those early Muslims were hypocrites. Oh, so that explains it. That thumbnail is savage. Oh, well, thank you. I despise doing thumbnails. I'm awful at it. It's nice to know that I got one right. Islam's worst enemy is its source material, the Quran, Hadith collections, and Sirah. There's no way getting around the plagiarism, contradictions, historical errors, and so forth. Absolutely, I've said this over and over. Islam's worst enemy is its own sources. Nobody needs to make up criticisms about Muhammad. They're all there for you. All you have to do is read them, which brings us to the comment below it. My Muslim family and friends get angry when I quote them their own Quran and Hadith. Ibn Ishaq has a very clear account of the Satanic Verses incident, yet every time one quotes Ibn Ishaq's Sirat Rasulullah, a Muslim will pop up to say Ibn Ishaq is weak or inauthentic, and I have more on that coming up in a later video. One question: what was Allah's exact relationship with the three goddesses? Sources say they were his daughters, others say they were merely goddesses associated with him. Yes, I understand that these three goddesses were daughters of Allah. That's an accurate summary of the sources I've read. What's also an interesting question is the relationship not only between Allah and these goddesses, but between Muhammad and these goddesses. I say this because we have early reports about Muhammad participating in idolatry, even offering sacrifices to some of these pagan deities. Muhammad would have been stoned to death in Moses' time. Just imagine that, Muhammad being stoned to death with Moses as judge. Just imagine that. I was watching the news about Salman Rushdie in Arab news and YouTube, and if you check the Arab Muslims' comments, they are full of hate and wishing him death. It seems that YouTube's comment censoring may not be as effective in Arabic as it is in English. They also expressed their hate to Western countries that allow free speech. I wonder why they allow such people in Western countries. But it also raises the question of why they want to be here in the first place, instead of moving to some Sharia paradise like Afghanistan. Salman Rushdie's stabbing results got treated in 2 days. His fame and the sales of his books increased. The attacker will spend his life in prison. Islam was the most hated religion for the past 2 days. And they still don't get it. Terrorism doesn't protect Islam, it ends it. Salman Rushdie's book is now the best-selling on Amazon. What an irony for Muslims. You will also taste a similar end. Wait a second.
You will also taste a similar end. Don't think the cartoons on your videos went unnoticed.
Wait a second. You mean the content I'm putting out publicly is getting viewed by the public? You mean the content I'm putting out to be noticed is not going unnoticed? Oh yeah, and you will also taste a similar end. This is the type of keyboard warrior who, if they saw me in real life, would run screaming in the opposite direction. Okay, a boy attacks an insolent dog for his words and his book, and you take individuals' deeds as the whole religion. Actually, no, I'm drawing from example after example after example. And from the greatest example, recall this woman who was criticizing Muhammad, and she was brutally murdered, and Muhammad approved of it. In fact, I have something here. Let's see. Yes, I have a note on that hadith. It says, "It is unanimously agreed that if a Muslim abuses or insults the Prophet, peace be upon him, he should be killed." I love the juxtaposition of peace and killing. It happens a lot. What's the hadith that comes after that? Oh yeah, a Jewess used to abuse the Prophet. A man strangled her till she died. I bet you want to hear the translator's note on that one, don't you? This shows that even if a Jew or any non-Muslim abuses the Prophet, peace be upon him, he will be killed. Okay, so from the first one, just to review, it's unanimously agreed that if a Muslim abuses or insults the Prophet, peace be upon him, he should be killed. And if a Jew or any non-Muslim abuses the Prophet, he will be killed. Oh, I forgot. Peace be upon him. Let's look at the next hadith. Notice the last line, that killing is not allowed for any man after Muhammad. Allow me to read the footnote for this hadith. The punishment for abusing or opposing the Prophet, may peace be upon him, was death. This was the privilege. Yes, it says privilege. This was the privilege of the Prophet, may peace be upon him alone. Okay, so just to review these footnotes and listen for the murder and peace pairing. If a Muslim abuses or insults the Prophet, may peace be upon him, he should be killed. This shows that even if a Jew or any non-Muslim abuses the Prophet, peace be upon him, he should be killed. And then finally, the third footnote that I just read to you, the punishment for abusing or opposing the Prophet, may peace be upon him, was death. This was the privilege of the Prophet, may peace be upon him alone. So no, we don't take the individual's deeds as the whole religion, unless, of course, that individual is Muhammad. This is what my fellow Muslims should do when someone insults our great prophet. I believe that when someone insults our prophet, it is nothing but a test from Allah. Allah is testing us to ensure we maintain our composure, restraint, and so forth. Whenever we detect an insult, we should approach those who have no respect for our prophet and embrace them with compassion and humility. We must do this to show how amazing Islam is, and that we persevere in the face of hate and criticism. We must love and respect those who hate our prophet. These are the teachings. But as we've seen, these are not the teachings. It's just what the person in the comment is saying. It's interesting how their morals are so much better than Muhammad's, which is interesting because he's the greatest example of all mankind. It seems that this commenter has confused the ethics of Jesus with the ethics of Muhammad. So while I applaud the attitude of the person making this comment, there's no basis for this comment in the Islamic texts themselves. God, Satan, well, we all make mistakes. Thanks so much for contributing to the comments section. We will keep this topic going because it's important, it's interesting, it's so very problematic, and because, of course, lots of people don't want us to. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.